I need a pedal board! Last night, I was kicking everything around. And I was like really frustrated.
I wish I had a pedal board.
I know. And then the pedal board fairy goes, have a pedal board.
So, and then Lee's like, hey, why don't you use this?
Yeah. So cured now. That's actually
It's mine now.
You can have it. It's fine.
What?
It's fine.
Wait, what?
You stuck all Velcro.
It's really awesome, man. I think that'll fit in my suitcase.
No, it's cool. No, it's
Lee.
You're welcome, man.
Thank you.
What's a pedal board between friends? Well, it's $50 actually you owe me.
I got a lot of comments on the tone last night, which was kick-ass, and when we played, and it was...
I got a chance to play this a little earlier today, and I'm that P90, because I'm a fan of P90s. I sometimes find that they haven't quite got the bite on the gain sound, but that does. Well, you're going to hear it in a minute, because this sounds big.
Yeah,
it's not overwhelmed. That's the thing, isn't it?
It is overwhelmed, but actually, it's a very unusual gauge of wire.
Oh, right.
That the winding is, and Rob Timmons at Arcane Pickups, he came up with it, and we went back and forth a couple of times, and I tried it out and loved it, and I let my buddies try it, and we're all geeks, like tone geeks, and we're all like, holy, it has this really nice girth to it. Like when you go for high notes, everything is sexual with these guys.
It is. It's never mind.
Wait, it's not just you guys.
Never mind the
length. It's every guy.
Never mind the length. It's all about the girth.
It's sorry about that. Sorry about that. But the whole thing is whatever it takes. I'm sorry. Whatever. Okay. So the high register sounds really thick, and then when you play the chords, you get the bite, but you also get this really brown sound. I plugged into a couple of plexi sounding Eddie Van Halen amps last week, and I started playing like anything, like Unchained, Feel Your Love Tonight, I'm the One. It all sounded like, and it's not even the kind of guitar that Eddie Van Halen uses. But
I heard you play a Van Halen solo in the middle of your set last night.
Did I? Oh yeah. Beat it, right?
Most of everything, until I met you a few weeks ago, all I knew about you was what I saw on Fred Americana. And you kind of come across as like a super crazy dude, doesn't really take himself too seriously. When it comes to your tone though, you're like one of the most serious people I think I've ever met. Like, see, like when you talk about how different amps work together, and how you're a serious guy, aren't you, when it comes to tone?
Yeah, and well, thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. But I think what's really important is that I'm a very compromising kind of guy, because I love Strats, and I love, and they have 3 pickups, but I can't really, I love the sound that you can get in like the 2nd and 4th position, like the Stevie Ray Vaughan or the Free Ride. I love those tones, right? But the problem is that middle pickup is exactly where I pick. Yeah. And when I drop it, so I don't shred my pick with the magnets, then you can't get those tones right.
Yeah, I have exactly the same problem. The second I get a 3 pickup guitar, I'll lower the middle one right down to the bass, so you can't, it doesn't get away with the fingers.
Right.
If I'm hybrid picking.
Exactly.
And then the top one, I'm like, it's a little bit in the way, lower it down a bit more.
Exactly. And you know what another thing?
I pick just here.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I pick here.
He's safe.
In between the neck and the middle.
You're safe.
I think that's why I like Strats, maybe.
We're not. You are, which is great. Now, another thing is too is like I think there was 2 reasons why I got rid of the neck pickup, and that was the one I just explained. The second one was that at one point I was using a guitar that had 24 frets, and it's just me, just an opinion. Yourself. When a guitar has a 24th fret, I feel like the neck pickup is in the wrong position. It's too close to the bridge. You don't get that sweet Child of Mine velvety tone, right? So I yanked it out. And then I really noticed that, wow, man, this guitar, the treble pickup actually sounds better without that neck pull of the magnet.
That's cool.
So that's how I came up with that whole thing.
You get a lot of guys, especially younger guys, and they'll come in, they'll buy their Seymour Duncan Invader pickup or some other crazy like magnet pole pieces the size of 5p pieces like that.
Yes.
And they get it to the point where it's like this far underneath the strings because they think that's how they get the maximum output, and then they realise they wonder why their guitar sounds different. It's because the magnets of it, the string just can't move.
You have to allow the dynamics of the rotation of the string for it to give off the bass frequency.
Right.
That's the thing.
And these guys too are wondering why can't I get a classic rock tone? Why can't I get Jimmy Page or Angus Young or Bad Company?
Why you got to be really good.
Oh, you got to be really good.
But you got to play very loud.
But the thing is too is if you actually try to play, if Steve Vai plugged into Angus Young's amp, right? He would be really limited to what he could do. And probably vice versa. If Angus plugged into Steve Vai's amp, probably couldn't control all the gain. It would sound all weird. But people don't understand that. It's really important, if you can't find, if you're not getting the classic rock tone and you got an EMG in an LTD Eclipse, first of all, you put an EMG in an OR and it'll pretty much sound the same, right? So,
haven't we had this massive debate, haven't we, on YouTube? If you put a pickup, it doesn't matter what the wood.
Yeah, there was.
EMG, I get it. I'm with you on EMG.
It was on my forum. There's a big thread right now saying if you put, is a guitar the sound of the pickup or is it the sound of the pickup on the wood of the guitar?
Everything.
Now, we know that.
We know the answer.
But
it's a system. The whole system.
With an EMG, it's more about the pickup.
Well, because you're talking about a very low wound pickup that's attached to a 9-volt battery, right? You're talking about a completely different animal. So in Mike's situation, where sometimes it's fun, and you can use an EMG in a Les Paul like Zakk Wylde, and he works that animal.
I like that sound.
Yeah, I think he has that thing, and he's mastered that thing, and it's what he does. I think it's awesome. But if he played Back in Black, it just wouldn't sound right.
No.
So, and that's why you're thinking, wow, I got Zakk Wylde's amp, and I got his guitar, and I got an EMG, and I play Back in Black, and it doesn't sound like Angus Young. Well, hello. But, it's that kind of thing where you got to really think about, well, Jimmy Page used Marshalls, and he used and he had a Les Paul, and probably had a low output pickup, which he did. And that's how he got that sound. That's why A Whole Lot of Love sounds like that. And A Whole Lot of Love was even a Vox AC30, by the way. Yeah. And a lot of people don't know that.
That's why you need lots of guitars and lots of amplifiers to get lots of different kinds of tones. That Jimmy Page recorded where he had a Telecaster rather than a Les Paul? Because I always hear this myth that there was a lot of stuff.
Well, there was a lot of stuff with the I think on the first record it was a lot of a Telecaster, and if you listen to Communication Breakdown, it's the Supro. It's a little amp. It's not even a big amp. It's not a Vox AC30. It's not a Marshall. It was a little Supro, like amp that maybe 18 watts, and Italian, and you know, people will, you know, will go, hey, you're wrong, and I don't care. Because I know when I plug the telly into a Supro, or even my Tone Master, if I plug a telly into my Tone Master, I get that sound. It sounds like a small amp, but with the mic in the right place, it sounds like a bigger amp.
Like a lot of artists become iconic for using a certain model, but then you use so like everyone thinks Jimmy just used Strats all the time.
Right.
He's a load of Flying V's in loads of recordings.
Well, it's the same. I get into that. Everyone will fall into it. If I see Slash in a picture playing a BC Rich or a telly, I'm like, that looks weird.
Yeah.
You know, because he's a Les Paul guy, right? Or even like Brian May, who used his Brian May guitar, and then
Peter Green with a Strat on Need Your Love So Bad.
Right. Or a telly in the video for. Come on, let me out.
Who are we talking about now? Brian May.
Brian May used a telly in Crazy Little Thing Called Love in the video, and it sounds like a telly.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing is too is people get wound up about what they see. So hey, I saw so and so last night, and the guy was playing a PRS plugged into a Mesa, and that's what he got on the record. But no, in most cases it was a Les Paul plugged into a Marshall.
Oh really? Well, by the time you get so for the live rig, it might be the PRS with the Mesa.
It is, but maybe because of the PRS, it stays in tune better than a Les Paul, and maybe the Mesa is a little more reliable than an old Marshall. But in the studio, in most cases, no, this is true.
Yeah.
Maybe in most cases, it's usually a Les Paul and a Marshall, but people get it into their heads. Well, in the video, he uses this because he gets it for free, and maybe even a salary, and it's funny because it's association thing, right?
Most favourite guitar tone I've ever heard. Let me think. You can tell me, as you obviously know, you can tell me what the gear was they recorded it on. Let me think.
I'll tell you mine.
Go on.
Man of the World, Peter Green.
What?
Man of the World, Peter Green. It's just amazing. It's just amazing.
But that's a Les Paul, right?
It's a Les Paul into, I think, a Marshall. It just sounds like it's just the most heartfelt, warm, emotional tone ever.
Totally.
It's just amazing.
You might have to come back to me on that one. I've stumped myself. I can't even think what my favourite.
What are we talking about? It's got to have to be John Mayer.
Yeah, John Mayer.
It's John Mayer, and it'll be on that album that you like, and it'll be.
Where's the
a Strat.
That's definitely a Strat.
His Strat.
Yeah,
for
sure. Strat into.
Well,
Two Rock.
I'm pretty sure it's a Two Rock. No, I don't think it's a Dumbo. I'm pretty sure it's a Two Rock. It might be an old Fender. And he has a big pedal board. Tons of pedals.
You should say my tone. Felix's tone.
Well, and it's funny, recording more modern rock and a lot of the records that I work on, people think it's a huge good sound, like on the first Daughtry record that we did, but that was usually either my sticker LTD with a P94 made by Gibson, plugged into a Marshall, a Plexi, and then doubled with a hollow body into a Vox AC30 or a Sound City, and these were all old amps, but when you layer these amps with character together, you get the wall of character. It doesn't sound like anything really. And the funny thing was that record became a staple. It became a calling card for me. They're like, hey, let's get that guy that did the Daughtry record. Well, his name is Phil X. That can't be. Like, who's called Phil X? But anyways, I ended up getting job after job after job because, hey, we want you to do. It got to the point where, hey, can you bring the acoustic that you used on the Daughtry record? And it was like, sure. It's in my garage. So people. They think it's a lot of gain, but it's not a lot of gain. It's a classic amp. And in some cases, you can layer in a fuzz pedal, and in other cases, you can fit
a real fuzz pedal.
A real fuzz pedal.
We met George Trips the other day, and we did a little fuzz kind of video.
Nice.
I hate fuzz pedals.
But they're great to layer.
It has its place.
It does have its place. But if you think about it, if you're next time you're recording at home, and and you got your Pro Tools going or whatever, you know, software you're using, and you lay down, say a Les Paul and a Marshall on the left, and the same rig on the right, and instead of, say you don't want to do a triple and quad, which we call it, which is another guitar and another amp, and have 2 guitars on both sides, there's 4 guitars all doing the same thing. But it's got to be super tight and super in tune, so it doesn't sound coarsey, and it doesn't sound flammy, and it doesn't sound messy. So sometimes we do that, and sometimes, instead of adding a 3rd and 4th, just one up the middle, and all it is a fuzz box plugged direct in.
One up the middle.
One up what?
One up the middle. That's what you said.
Yeah, when Captain releases his solo blues album.
Yeah. One up the middle.
Session
it's
help
coming out just after we play instruments.
Nice. I want to do a solo on it. I'll send it to you via internet.
Great players always have plexi amplifiers. Whenever I've plugged into a plexi amplifier, I just find I get exposed. Everything that I find every scratchy kind of sound that's not quite right, the plexi just goes, "Bye, you up," in your face like that.
I know exactly what you're saying, and it comes down to the hands. You gotta. It's almost like you have to play the amp. Like sometimes I'll feel like if I have the plexi set a certain way, I have to pick a little lighter.
Right.
Or if I pick how I usually play and it's low watt speakers, then it gets a little farty, so I have to use higher watt speakers. So I use my plexi in 75s in a Marshall cabinet, and that's basically that tone for me, and it totally works. It responds to my hands. I get really excited, and then the Evil Robot does its thing into another cabinet, and and the blend for me is amazing. But it's playing the amp. Like, okay, I went to the amp show in Sherman Oaks last October, and you can go. It's not like the NAMM show. It's like, you guys should come. It's like a hotel floor.
Yeah.
And every amp company has a room. So and you close the door and crank it up as loud as you want, and nobody's coming around with a decibel meter going, "Hey, you're shut down." So it's really an amazing experience. But the thing is, it's so loud that your ears are burnt out. But before they get burnt out, you're getting to try out some amps. And so many people plugged into the Evil Robot, and one guy actually pinpointed it. It's exactly what you said. He started playing, and it sounded all gucky and stuff. And he goes, "Wow, you actually really have to be able to play this amp." Because it doesn't respond to sloppiness.
No.
It's going to tell the truth, and nothing but the truth. So if you're a sloppy...
You can't handle the truth!
Handle the truth.
Or whatever the line from that.
These guys in movies.
That was the line, man.
But, that's the whole thing, and it's like people are like, "Hey, what kind of overdrive pedal should I get that'll make me sound better?" I go, "Yeah, there's one on the market, it's called Practice." Because that's what's going to make sense.
I have 4 of those. They're great. I'm a suck. I buy the one for Talent Booster.
The Talent Booster, yeah, right?
It really works.
Tons of leg.
See, I think there actually are gain pedals that you can buy. I mean, I surround myself with gear that I think makes me sound better.
Yeah.
Because it's art, and therefore it's a completely subjective field.
But the thing is like, what happens one night you show up and
you haven't got your
you forgot your overdrive
protective
pedal.
stuff.
And this is the thing.
Around you.
One time I went to use my overdrive pedal at a gig and it wasn't working. And I was like, instead of freaking out or calling someone to bring me an overdrive pedal, I was like, "Guys, it's up to you." Oh man, don't hurt yourself, buddy. Wow.
What?
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks for hanging out.
Thank you for watching us.
Hey, and thank you. And thank you.
Thank you
for having me.
Thank you for coming to
Andertons.
these fine shores.
It's been a pleasure and a pleasure to have you.
It's been amazing. Thank you.
Bye.
See you later.
See ya. Ciao.